morning, class. It is the end of week 2, and I'm going to continue our STP examples today. So yesterday I was giving you that example of the very first STP. I ended up hitting a bottle dump. I'd like to try and show you one that's a little bit more normal. So, I don't know what's going to be under the ground. That's the great thing about archaeology, right? We never know what's going to be there. But I'm going to select a different unit and see if I can get more of a straightforward STP to demo for you. All right? All right, beautiful morning. So I am 15 meters north of the bottle dump. Once again, you never actually excavate the flag for the STP. I've got my big screen set up. I have my tarp laid down for my back dirt, pointy shovel, boots and gloves. Not wearing my hat at the moment. And remember, I'm going around in a circle at about the angle of the shovel. All right, I got the circle done, breaking it in half, taking half out. Usually you can handle about half of that clump in your screen. There we go. Step on the screen. So this is more typical. One piece of barbed wire out of the top of, farmland. Most farms are going to have barbed wire near the surface. We collect it. Some projects will just have you note it. And I need to take my gloves off. I like to keep the artifacts in my pocket like that. It's a chunk of concrete. I'm going to note that, but I don't think I'm going to keep that. Later on, I'm going to grab my other shovel. I don't like these ones that have the part that goes back like this because it catches on the edge of your STP. So I just had a root going through the middle. I don't know if you saw. I just hit it with the shovel. Keep your shovel sharp. You can sharpen it with the bastard file just like your trowel. One piece of bottle glass. Two pieces of bottle glass. I'm gonna go get that other shovel. So most field crews don't have the luxury of choosing their gear, but if you can get a shovel where the foot pads go up towards the surface of your pail rather than the back. See, this one curves to the back. This one catches on the back of your test units. This one does not. Keeping my eyes open for color changes, but so far it's your typical kind of bleached plow zone looking. I'll show you in a second. some interesting colors going on at the bottom. Get out my trowel in a second. Tiny bit of metal. That's it. All right. All right, so once you look at these colors, this is much more typical. There's not much of an AO, a dark organic upper soil. There's really just an A horizon. This is technically where your AO would be, but it's not very rich, not dark. Doesn't seem to be, differentiated. So we've got pretty much the same color going down. And then at the bottom, I'm starting to get that yellowish, slightly clayey. This is what I'm talking about for subsoil. So now this is an important lesson. Why are we looking for subsoil? So archaeologists remember we're looking for buried features. So the reason we're looking for subsoil is like a constant across the landscape underneath the topsoil. And where it gets disturbed, because it's so old, we can tell that much more easily than if the topsoil had been disturbed. Because the topsoil is always getting disturbed. That's what makes it darker and more organic. But if some human or an animal burrows through or cuts through or builds into the ground and cuts through the subsoil, it will leave a mark, right? You'll cut it out. Even if you fill it back in, you're going to be filling it back in with darker, usually materials. So we look for the subsoil and then any disturbances in the subsoil. I'm just looking at the floor, making sure I didn't miss any other indications of something else, like if there's a little stain in that subsoil. Everything looks normal. I'll show you once again. Everything looks very normal. So we've got this darker coming down on the lighter right here. So I clean to that, and I don't have to clean very much, all right? This is an STP. It doesn't have to be that nice. So I'm just gonna get this loose out with my shovel. That's level 1. I'll dig into level 2, and that's just gonna be the sub, and we'll call it a day. All right, So this is the last of layer 1. Make sure there's nothing in it. Now, how can I tell that soil is getting clayier? I'll show you this again in a second, but the soil is starting to ball up in my screen. That's your clayier subsoil. That takes a long time to develop, longer than humans have been in the Americas. It's one of the benefits of working in American archaeology. Subsoil is a lot more compact though. Remember, I'm using what I call the jackhammer method. I'm not using my feet. I'm just throwing it down. Remember to keep this against the back of your STP. So if you're working on the far side, it's like this. And if you're working on the near side, the pole is away from you. So this is why you got that degree, right? So you can spend all summer jackhammering subsoil. STPs are a great tool. You'll get tired of them. Dig a hole, fill it in. Okay. Well, it's not as clear cut as I thought. It's kind of still a mix. So it may not be true sub. It's getting clayier, but I don't see, it's not as clean of a break as I at first thought. I have to dig down a little bit more, see what the walls look like. The walls always tell you more than you'll know when you're going down. Remember to always be working at the outer edge, keeping the walls as straight as possible. Otherwise, it'll all go down to a point, and then if you have to dig deeper, it'll be a problem. All right, so this is important. It's getting back to dark again. See, I cleaned off that back wall. And it's this lighter tan. And then really, there's just a lens of that kind of subsoil looking stuff. And at the very bottom, it's getting darker, which means some type of buried plow zone or buried A, meaning that this all has been landscaped at some point. Not really surprising. So I have to go further. I can't stop here. I should screen what's in this since we're hitting a new layer. There we go. I often work on one wall especially to try and get one wall pretty straight all the way down. It helps to view the profile. Oh, this is one of those things that they don't catch with 811. Septic. Septic's actually behind you, but yeah, there's a pipe down there. Yeah, that's PVC pipe. I don't want to be going any further than that. All right, not going to be digging more right around here. All right, so that septic explains why I didn't hit a clear subsoil and why I kept finding kind of a lens of slightly darker, slightly lighter, slightly darker, slightly lighter. It kept on kind of getting mixed, and every time I looked down, I thought I had hit sub, and then the next shovel, I'd hit something a little darker. It's just a few shades, but it was enough to keep me digging, meaning that there had been some disturbance here. I should have hit subsoil by then. So I kept digging because that usually means there's some disturbance either in ancient times or fairly modern. In this case, it was for the septic. Luckily, I'm at the edge of the septic. I'm not actually in it. This is like the casing that encases it. So I haven't damaged anything. But let's document this now. So first off, you're going to need your depths, right? I'm going to switch this over. All right. I don't know if vertical video will work very well or not, but I think this is a nice shot here. What we've got is, this is your topsoil, and it starts to kind of get mixed in this batch right here, and then it gets darker again underneath. Now in a more formal test unit, I might actually try and delineate exactly where each lens goes, but this is a disturbed STP, and it's just an STP. So in general, we're just getting raw depths and artifact counts. So in this case, my artifacts came from all up above here. Then we have a kind of mixed layer, a little bit of, that looks like, yeah, this is just some naturally occurring stone that happens in deeper subsoils. So this is part of the mixing that went on. So I need to take depths. I've got my metric this time. So I'm going to say 0 to 20 centimeters. That's very normal for your top layer, 0 to 20. 0 to 15, 0 to 20 tends to be your top bit until you start seeing your soil colors change a lot. Now that's just on average. Every hole is going to be different. So then it's going to be 20 to 30. See, I'm measuring off the surface there. So 0 to 20, 20 to 30, and we bottomed out at 50 centimeters. Okay, so we went half a meter down. So this is what a half meter down STP looks like. Now, what would I describe the soils as? This is a part I'm going to talk to you about in class. We will be talking about the Munsell system. And unfortunately, mine is not with me. It's an expensive little book that I would love to just have you guys all buy, but it's a couple $100 to get your own. You look at the soil, you pull off a little bit of a ped, a fresh one, with your trowel. Some people use their fingernails and get it on the tip of their fingernails. And then they'll hold it up to this book. And archaeologists have been working with this soil color chart, Munsell soil color chart, for decades. And it's like using your Sherman-Williams paint color swatches to say, okay, this is eggshell white, or, you know, whatever color you're looking for. In which case, I know, though, since I've been doing it for decades, this is about a 10YR 4.6. This is about a 10YR 4.6 blended with a 10YR maybe 6.8 and another 10YR 4.6 at the bottom. Everybody's eyes are going to be a little different. Every Munsell color chart should be the same, but not everybody sees the colors the same. But we just want to generally get that this is kind of a yellowish brown, then a yellowish brown mixed with a clayier, yellower brown, and then a yellowish brown again. So that's the color. The other thing you have to do is texture. And this is a little, again, hard to do over the internet. But this feels kind of like what you would expect typical dirt to feel like. Kind of fine. It's soft in my hands. It breaks up easily. This is silt. And I think you guys can figure out the difference between silt and sand, right? So sand is going to have actual, like, sand-grained particles that you can see and feel, and it's gritty.
silt starts getting smooth to the touch. You don't feel the individual grains so much because they're much finer. And then as the grain size gets even smaller, that's when you get clay. And clay, you'll see, can be mashed, right? It can clump. You can create these little things by roly-polying it. You can't do that with silt. So once it starts getting clay content, you start being able to ball it up and roll it and smear it. So this is a 10-wire 4/6 silt. This is a 10-wire 4/6 with a 6/8 clayey silt. It's still not fully clay. And then it goes back to silt again. Normally your subsoil should be some form of clayey, silty clay, clayey silt, or just clay. So now in my notebook, what I'm going to record then, 0 to 20, soil color, soil texture. I'm going to see. 2 pieces of glass, 1 piece of flat metal, 1 barbed wire fragment. So I'm going to put that on this bag. Layer 1, Hendricks House Farm, Backyard Archaeology 2020. STP grid number, layer 1, 0 to 20 centimeters, 2 glass, 1 metal, 1 barbed wire, date and initials. In the notes, that all is going to get included as well. And then layer 2 and layer 3 are going to be documented just as their soil stratigraphy, right? Because we didn't have any artifacts coming out of them. Simple enough. So the last thing we do to every STP is backfill. You have to backfill or mark something around your units if you ever leave them open. These are a tripping hazard for both human and wildlife and livestock. So I have actually killed a cow, unfortunately. Not me. My crew left a test unit open and cow broke a leg and died. Well, so you don't want to leave it open. If you have to leave it open, then you put caution tape or flagging tape around it, ideally a board on top of it, okay? But I'm gonna backfill. And look at how easy that was with the tarp. Always leave a mound, because this will subside. You can try putting that little ped of grass at the top. It never grows back. I'm joking. Grass grows back, but this clump doesn't help. All right. Very good.